I am now getting ready to make a new set of curtains. Actually, I'm going to make a puffy valance for the transom above the outer front doors. And in the entrance vestibule, I'm also going to make a matching curtain for the doors, the glass doors themselves, and for a side window. And what I've discovered is I can do that all on my serger. And that's what I'm going to kind of give you a glimpse of tonight. I've got all my bolts of fabric ordered for my windows. They just haven't came in yet, but I bought a 2-yard piece of it to play with, and we're going to play with it tonight. Okay, so I'm going to swap my camera over and move my camera over to the serger station, and we're going to come. I'll see you over there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to heavily use the ruffling foot. I've got 1 yard of this cut, so this came from a big box store. It's a metallic netting. It's very sheer, which I don't want heavy draperies up. I like with those big windows, I like a lot of light. But what I have here is 1 yard cut, selvage to selvage, and I'm going to gather it. Okay. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to put on my ruffling foot and take that off. And I've just got in regular serger thread. I'm going to smooth that one over there. Okay, got that. Now I've got a little scrap piece here, so when I squared up the end of it, I always save this kind of stuff, especially this netting stuff. This is great for fiber art projects and all kinds of little mixed media stuff. So this will go in my goodie bin. Remember my goodie bin, check it out. I've been doing a lot of sewing and it's about 3/4 full. Yes, this is right beside my serger. Look at all that yummy stuff there. Once that is full, I'm going to show you what I do with this. But it's got to be completely full, and it probably will be by the end of the month. Oh, by the way, everybody, happy National Sewing Month. September is National Sewing Month. And there's a big giveaway on Baby Lock's website. I put a link in our group. You all check that out. Okay, I'm going to cut a piece of that off here. And now I'm just going to run this under. It is super thin. I'm going to make sure that my stitch length is set to 4. I'm going to turn my differential all the way up to 2. So here's something, I've never went over this with y'all, but here's something you need to know. These numbers, if you didn't know it, when that differential is set up to 2, that's going to gather. When you push the lever up, it gathers. When you push it below neutral, it stretches the fabric. Excuse me. So with that turned up to the number 2 on that differential, that means it'll have a 2-to-1 gathering ratio. So not on this piece. I'm just going to make sure it stitches okay. I have a yard of this. We're going to see if it actually gathers. So it's 36 inches is the length I'm going to put through it. When we're done with that on 2, it should be 18 inches. So I'm just going to lift up my lever here and get that down. And I've tried the gathering foot, which is different. This is the ruffling foot. This has the metal flange on it. I do like this one the best, and I'll tell you why. Because with that metal flange on the bottom, and what I'm talking about is this metal bar right here. See that? There we go. You can see it right there. See my finger in it? What that does, it grips the fabric and pushes it underneath the needles. And I do a lot of piecing on my serger also, because one thing you have to remember, you can do a 1/4 inch seam with it and all that fun stuff, but you have larger feed dogs on a serger than you do a sewing machine. That means it's going to feed the fabric faster. And with a serger, guess what? You never have to wind a bobbin. See this cone of thread right here? Right there? That's my bobbin, everybody. I have a 2,000 yard bobbin. Think about it. Just mull that one over on your head just a little bit, and you'll understand why some people like to piece with a serger. So I have my stitch length at 4. Okay, that's the highest it will go. I have my needle tension over here in the mid-range at 5, and we're just going to see what happens. And when you're doing this, you do not want to pull back on whatever fabric you're doing, because it has to, you guide it, but you want it to go through there kind of. If you pull back on it, it will straighten it out and you won't get any gathers or anything. Okay? Boy howdy, that's a thin fabric, so it is really doing it and doing it good. You get that loose thread right there. There we go. It certainly did shrink it up, but check it out. You know what you could do with this? You could make a garland for your Christmas tree if you wanted to. That'd make kind of a cool little Victorian-looking garland, but there it is. Now, if you've ever seen I love window treatments, okay? And I just haven't had time lately to actually make any window treatments, but I'm going to make time. I'm going to do it one room at a time, because right now there's white lace over every window. There's 42 windows in this house, I think, and they're all 8 foot tall. And all but the dining room and the sunroom off the dining room, all the other rooms have white lace on them, and I want some color. I need some color. So here's and this is like 60 inches wide. So this would be the width of my panel, okay? From selvage to selvage, that would be 60 inches. If I needed a narrower panel, I would measure it from selvage to selvage and cut it, and then that would be my panel. Where you're going to get the texture is in the gathering. Now, when I go to make my real ones, I will mark these in chalk or something to keep the rows of stitching really super duper straight. But this one, I'm just going to play. I'm going to put a piece right down the center. There's the center of it. And I'm just going to go for it. This is not very expensive, everybody. I mean, I think it's like, even without a coupon or anything, it's like $3 a yard or something like that. Very inexpensive. But with a serger, you can do some beautiful treatments with inexpensive items. So here we go. And I'm going to do a couple of rows so we can see the full effect. I've had people ask me, now I have gray thread in. When I make the actual ones, they'll have gold thread. But I've had people ask me, why would you want a serger with such a wide thread space? Here's the perfect example why. It'd be very difficult to do this on my, look at that, it really gathered. Let me get a yardstick. I have one right over here. We're going to do a measurement. We're going to see if that 2-to-1 ratio, that's what I'm after here. Okay, so my yardstick. And yes, this came from like Home Depot, my yardstick, I know. So, what I want to measure is this area that I gathered right here. From here to here. And that is, I tell you what, it is actually, that was really close. It did a little bit better, I think. Let me get an accurate read here. There to there. 16.5 inches. So it went from 36 to 16.5. If I really wanted that 2-to-1, because the thinner the fabric, the more it will gather. Okay? So if I really wanted to keep it at that 2-to-1 ratio, if I drop this down from 2 to 1.8, I think I'd be right on target with that. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to do my next layer, and I'm going to use the edge of my table here as a guide, and I'm just going to come over 1 table's width and do my next row. Okay, right there. Now, and I got my knee lift on, because sometimes it's handy to not have to remove your hands from your fabric to reach over here. Okay, so that's on there. And I'm just going to keep this previous line of stitching at the edge of this table here, and that'd be a 5-inch spread. So I'm just wanting to make it really poofy. Okay, here we go. So keep this in my lap. Yep, it is staying right where I want it. Another good fabric to do this would be like an organza. I think that would make a nice drapery sheer. Because I don't want a heavy drapery, I want light to come in. So let's see what that one looks like. Oh, that's getting there for sure. There you go. See all the little pleats in it? It's really sheer, isn't it? But this will be really high up. It'll be like between 9 and 10 feet above the floor. And I'm just going to keep going over this direction and lining it up. I'm going to raise that presser foot with my knee. Get it under the foot. And get it started into the fabric. I'm going to do the next row. I tell you, the gray doesn't really look that bad. It would with light hitting it. I will probably actually use a gold metallic thread once I actually make my final product for my windows. Okay, there. There's that one. We'll bring it back out. So you get the idea. Another thing you could use as a guide bar without marking the fabric is actually put in the quilting bar up here, which would give you a little bit narrow because it would come out to about right here. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Oh, now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. Yes, I like sparkly stuff, but this is really, I've always thought this would make a really great window treatment. When I saw this is 100% from a big box store. I'm not going to mention the name, but I'm sure you can figure it out. But if you have the correct coupon, you can get this stuff really, really inexpensive. And when you have to have a lot of yardage, I like that concept. Because it's going to take a lot of yardage to do this. There we go. Okay. And in the real, when I actually do this, I don't know if I'll put them this close together or not. This was just a test. Oh, now that's getting there. Now it's getting there. Okay. Let's do another one. So as you can see, you just have to have some way to keep the spacing about so it's very similar. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's going to get up there and measure it once you get that curtain hung. At least I would hope not. Oh my goodness. But get my foot control where I can touch it. There we go. What I'm doing is putting my finger on that previous line right to the edge and smoothing it out and feeding it. Okay. And that's really all there is to it with that ruffling foot. It does all the work for you. Okay. So there we go. That is fairly sheer, and boy howdy, my rows are are fairly crooked. So I will definitely have to mark my real piece to keep that, because I really check it out. I've got way off over here. There's the top, and there's the bottom. But it still doesn't look bad. You could always make something out of it. I will actually, let's see how strong is that. Let's just check it out. That is totally strong, everybody. I'm pulling hard and it will not break, which is good to know. And this is just serger thread is all it is. So, and that's just using the chain stitch. One cone, one needle, one thread into that chain looper to do that with. And it's that easy to do. This would also make a nice machine cover. Ooh, check it out. Covered in gold. I like that. There's another use I could use that. Wouldn't be very dust covery though, because it's like lace, quite honestly. It's like this little network of interwoven fibers. But anyway, you get the idea.